It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, scientists discover Mount Everest is taller than initially thought.
The night is 71 degrees. We're going to challenge a record here for the next 2 consecutive days. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Talking about how to be a good neighbor. The KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us on the KOAM and Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. More information is released following a fire at the historic Olivia apartments in Joplin. According to Joplin officials, firefighters were called to the scene around 9:30 Monday night. Crews were able to put out the fire around 1 a.m. with the last crew leaving at 3:15 yesterday morning. The building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Fire Chief Ferguson says the investigation will be a hard one, and that's because crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire, and crew members did have to disconnect power. There was no gas to the structure. Lower levels of the building suffered water damage. Joplin police arrest a man after he allegedly assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid in North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. Oklahoma Highway Patrol is now asking for the assistance of any witnesses to a crash about 7:45 Monday morning on State Highway 10 around 1.6 miles northeast of Wyandotte. Officials say 20-year-old Alexis Crawford of Wyandotte swerved while trying to avoid a truck turning in the other lane and hit another vehicle. Crawford was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver and passengers of the other vehicle involved had only minor injuries. Rural healthcare in southeast Kansas is getting hit hard by the pandemic. In Wilson County, Kansas, they've just crossed 400 total positive cases. 31 of those were over the weekend, as they start seeing cases from the Thanksgiving holiday. And 12 new cases came in yesterday morning. Now their contact tracers are working to find all of those exposed. It's a big job for the handful of contact tracers they have at the health department.
I don't think we are keeping up. We're doing the best that we can. We did have to set some boundaries because I really think that we could be here 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, if we let it happen that way.
Wilson County adopted a mask mandate into place on November 23rd. The Newton County Health Department reports 3 COVID-19 related deaths, bringing their total to 55. Those patients were all men, 2 in their 80s and 1 in his 40s. Yesterday, the SCK Humane Society made online fundraising history, meeting a $10,000 goal that will be matched by the Ronald O. Thomas Foundation for a total of $20,000. That's the most money the shelter has ever made in an online fundraiser, and it will amount to nearly a year's supply of pet food. This donation will make all the difference for the SCK Humane Society, which has been struggling to keep up with nearly 100 animals.
We are so appreciative to the Ronald O. Thomas Foundation. It's events and programs like this that really spur movement in the community, and that's exactly what we saw. Again, we do not ever reach these online fundraiser numbers. So with their help, they made this Christmas miracle come true.
Love it when Christmas miracles come true. This was the first time the SCK Humane Society has ever gotten a matching donation of this size, and they'll be thanking the community with some fun, free events and treats. Stay tuned to their Facebook page for more info. Well, a new discovery at Mount Everest after researchers found it's actually 3 feet taller than previously thought. Experts have decided the monumental Mount Everest measures in at roughly 29,032 feet tall. The new figure caps off more than a decade of dispute over the peak's precise height. The back and forth dispute between the governments of Nepal and China started in 2005, and in 2015, a massive earthquake threatened to change the data altogether. But in 2019, the countries agreed to work together. It's important to collaborate on this. Teams went up and jointly calculated measurement was announced.
What's our new number?
Our new height.
Survey says?
Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll.
29,032.
Yes.
So that's about, what is that? So roughly about 9,000 feet taller than Denali / McKinley. Okay.
And just watch it erupt, and then they'll have to remeasure again.
Right, yeah. Now, I really think the interesting part of that story is you had the Chinese and the Nepalese government actually willing to work together. And I know that sounds insignificant as far as what they actually accomplished, but the fact that the two sides were able to come together and do something, that's a good thing.
If it's a border mountain, you've got to do that, though.
Oh,
It's
don't
only
talk
fair.
about you don't want to talk about that border now. You won't get into that. That's for sure. Live look outside of Television City, just an absolutely gorgeous midweek start. And a little cloud cover out there as we face to the south-southeast. Skywatch Storm Tracker, very, very clear. And here's the key factor too. We'll get to our temperatures in just a little bit, but that humidity at 65% really kind of limits any possibility that we have for fog, not only for today, but also through tonight into tomorrow morning. So that's a great thing. 36 in Chanute, 38 in Neosho, and 35 in Pittsburgh. And so while we're able to stay pretty much above freezing, here's the great thing. We're going to warm up real quick when we get through about the mid-morning hours to the point where we'll see a 20-degree jump from about 9 a.m. to where we'll top out in the afternoon. Really, everything below the ridge of the jet stream here is going to be abnormally warm December temperatures, as we'll be up into the high 60s here later on. I think that's a bad estimate. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop this one up. I like this one better. I think we're going to make it up to around 68, 69 degrees. Now, we're going to challenge a record high. At Joplin Regional Airport, it's 71 degrees on this December 9th. Now, it's going to be hard to break it, but at the same point in time, look at this back-to-back days of temperatures a good 20 degrees above where we normally be. Now, we've got developments coming Friday. It's going to start with rain and then a big cold front. So we got a chilly weekend. Find every reason to get out and take advantage of today and tomorrow. Tanya and Jesse?
All right, well, coming up next, why COVID-19 has many rethinking their holiday plans.
And we're talking about what it means to be a good neighbor. You're watching the KOA Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be back with more right after this.
The first coronavirus vaccine could be available at the end of the week, but the pandemic is forcing many people to rethink their holiday plans. Michael George shows us how millions of Jewish families are finding ways to celebrate while keeping safe and socially distanced.
For Saul Blinkoff, his wife and 4 kids, Hanukkah is about family.
We look forward to Hanukkah all year. The kids count down the days.
But the usual big family gatherings are just too risky during a pandemic. Saul says they'll still gather with family from across the country, but this time it'll be online.
Thank God for Zoom. We Zoom almost every day with them. We will find Zoom opportunities to light our menorahs while our family is lighting their menorahs too, and we'll sing with them.
Jewish families nationwide are finding ways to keep Hanukkah traditions in a very untraditional year.
We're still doing it. We're still making it happen.
Jason Lievenberg of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles says they've organized an 8-day Hanukkah festival called Infinite Light, and it's all virtual.
Just because we can't gather together and light the candles doesn't mean that you can't have a million Zoom cameras up or FaceTimes up and lighten all together with your family.
Lievenberg says during this difficult year, the joy and togetherness of the holiday are badly needed.
The ancient history of Hanukkah is all about resilience.
The Blinkoffs are showing that resilience by changing their typical plans to sing at a nursing home.
This year, unfortunately, we won't be able to go to a nursing home, but we will be investigating how we can find Zoom opportunities so our kids can sing again for people that might feel isolated.
Sharing the message of Hanukkah at a time when that message is more important than ever. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
This year, some synagogues are planning to remain closed during Hanukkah, encouraging families to celebrate safely at home. Well, scientists use the world's most advanced solar telescope to take photos of sunspots. The detail in the picture is remarkable, and scientists say it's a good indication of the way this new telescope will help us understand the sun. Getting a look at sunspots is really important because they help scientists track activity on the surface of the sun. They call it space weather, and it's important to understand because it can impact the power grid, satellites, GPS, airlines, rockets, and astronauts working in space. It's really cool.
Anything like that actually plays a great role in our atmosphere, and you know, while we just kind of take it for granted, the fact that you know, it's just going to warm us up for the next 2 days, it's pretty amazing what it can do to the technology that we rely on each and every day as well. What up, Hafe? What up, Slip? That's Jeff Hafer right there in the middle.
Not a sunspot.
Missouri Tiger. This is Missouri Tiger Jeff Hafer. Joplin head basketball coach Jeff Hafer as well. But I still refer to him as Missouri Tiger Jeff Hafer.
Ah, you know,
that's why I just like to yell, "What up, Hafe?"
Sometimes they give you those images. It's like a really close-up view of something, not to do with the Missouri Tiger picture, but like the sunspot. You look at it really close and you're like, what is this? And my first thought was a really bloodshot eye.
Oh, I wouldn't. You know, I was kind of thinking the same thing while you were reading it. I went with sunflower.
Ooh. Interesting.
That's why I
bright
was having
colors,
that.
bright yellow.
All right, let's talk about the sunshine, Tanya, because what it's going to do is threaten a record that dates back to 1993 for December 9. We topped out at 71 degrees that year, and tomorrow, 74 is the record, and actually tomorrow's going to be warmer than what we have today. But let's concentrate on our Wednesday here. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to break any records, but we're going to challenge them. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, 40 degrees is where we stand right now. Humidity nice and low. It's been very pleasant outside, 32 in Miami, 37 in Nevada, and a pair of 41s in both Monette and Cassville. No worries for the kids as they take off to school today. As a matter of fact, by the time recess rolls around, that's when the warm-up really begins in earnest. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker. We had a little cloud cover earlier this morning. We saw that from the tower cam there outside of Television City. Gave us some wonderful, wonderful mid-December colors at sunrise. As far as the national perspective goes, got a good looking snow system over the northeast right there. Some much needed rain in the Pacific Northwest and Big Sky country, and then we've got the ridge of the jet stream right there. And since we get under it, that's why we're going to have abnormally warm temperatures for middle of December. As far as future track, like I said, on Thursday, we'll actually push up into the 70s. Now, Friday morning, rain develops out to the west, and as it pushes through the 4 states, our temperatures, whoop, straight down. We're going to have the rug pulled out from underneath us here, especially when it comes to our nighttime lows that are going to be back down below freezing. So all the more reason to take advantage of what's going to be a marvelous 48 hours in the 4 states. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. About 18 minutes past top of the hour here on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, and with Christmas right around the corner, we here at the station want to hear what all those good little 4-state boys and girls want from Santa. So all you got to do is you log on to KOAMnewsnow.com, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see Share Your Child's Notes to the North Pole is what we're calling it. Notes to the North Pole. And you click on that, and then all you got to do is fill out this form. And here's what we were able to put in place. So we got some connections that we worked on. And we actually convinced Santa that he could come on air and read them. And so that's what we're going to do. He's going to read those letters that you send to him via Notes to the North Pole. So it's going to start December 17th, runs all the way to Christmas Eve, and Santa's going to read those names and wishes from our 4-state kiddos. So once again, KOAMnewsnow.com, and look for the Notes to the North Pole link. Now, nearly a dozen Wichita bar and nightclub owners have taken legal action against a long list of city and county officials. In fact, they've joined a federal lawsuit challenging current health orders. It's an order that limits bar capacity, reduces operating hours. So Grant DeMars spoke with some of the business owners that are involved.
in Wichita bars and nightclubs, and a federal lawsuit against a long list of defendants. Those include 3 current and 1 former county commissioner, Mayor Brandon Whipple, 3 city council members, Police Chief Gordon Ramsey, and Sheriff Jeff Easter. Local health officials like Dr. Gerald Mins also named in the lawsuit.
The government shutting our business down and literally cutting our legs off at the knees and not helping us. I think that's the biggest part of it too. We're not receiving any assistance at all.
Owner of Vorshay's Cocktail Lounge, Stephen Peter, says he and most other bar owners are not against masks, but they disagree with the limits placed on their businesses, especially the curfew. He says it feels like they're being targeted by local officials.
What we want to have happen is that we want to still be able to have our way of life and still be able to pay our bills and still be able to make a future after this is all over, because let's be honest, this will be over. I mean, and I think it's closer to over than not, and we're barely hanging on.
Mayor Brandon Whipple says he understands, but right now, COVID-19 is taking a huge toll on the community.
Particularly with the entertainment sector, they've been hit really hard with this. But again, we're in an unprecedented situation where our hospitals are overflowing right now with COVID patients. We are seeing, I think, 1/3 of all deaths since the beginning of this pandemic happen within the last 30 days. We are just in the worst spot right now that we've been when it comes to COVID.
Should this federal lawsuit be successful, businesses could return to the way they were before the pandemic. No masks, gathering limits, or curfews. Specifically, our question for you on Facebook and also our morning Insta poll: should there be more or less COVID-19 restrictions for bars? We'll pick it up with Connie Chrisman. Connie says it is about control. David Means says the enforcement of restrictions is very selective. Big tax dollars equal less restrictions, plain and simple. Give big box stores same crippling restrictions as everybody else. Becky Mingarelli says maybe these bar owners should go to a hospital and tag along with doctors and nurses treating COVID patients for a few days, then make an educated decision. Becky says, I get it's hurting their pockets, but get creative. Carside pickup and such. It's a tough time for all of us that are trying to be a part of the solution. And our good friend Trace Buckle drops a little America on us. The KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning, 55% of you say there should be more restrictions on bars compared to 37% who say less. You can log on, let us know what you think. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be right back after this. Young men behind me right there, pay attention to high school sports in the 4 states at all. That dude looks familiar. Well, his name is Always Right. That's right, his name is Always Right. He's a junior at Joplin High School. He's the Eagles quarterback. He's the leading scorer on the basketball team. Our own sports director, Jacob Leonard, caught up with not only Always, but also his parents to get the story behind one of the best names in the game.
If you've heard his name at a game, you may have done a double take.
I get that pretty often. I also get a lot of jokes, too.
Checking in from Joplin is number 1, Always Right.
He goes by Always Right, and it's not a nickname.
His full name is Joseph Always Right.
Wright is a junior at Joplin High School, and he has one of the most unique names in the game.
It's just me. I mean, I really don't feel different. A lot of people, at first surprised by it, but, I don't really think anything about it.
When I was growing up and I was in high school, I had a best friend, one of my best friends from here in Carthage. His name was Todd Webb. He was afraid that we were never going to stay in contact after I started my career and moved on. So he said, Joe, when you have your first newborn son, call him Always. So when he gets up in high school and college, when they start talking about him, I'll know how to contact you. The name actually caught fire, and everybody kind of likes the name, and people can get a hold of us through his name, Always Right.
It's a name sports fans will hear plenty over the next 2 years. Wright is Joplin's quarterback and the leading scorer on the Eagles basketball team.
When I first heard his name, I thought, well, those kids are going to be able to play, because with names like that, they better be. What Always looks like on the floor is kind of how he is off the floor. He just pretty laid back, easy going.
It's a tough name to live up to, but to Always Right, it's more than just a name, it's who he is.
I never call him anything else but Always. I never call him Joe or Joseph, I always call him Always.
I like it. It's pretty unique for me. I don't really think about it much, but I still think it's pretty cool.
You know, when you play the game of any sport, you got to go prove yourself anyway, and the names will take care of themselves.
And I don't think it puts pressure on him. It's just his name, and he knows it's just his name.
It just so happens that Always is not the only one with a unique name in the Wright family, because you're also going to hear this next name plenty in the next few years. That's because there's a younger brother who's a freshman. His name is Allright. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, William Earhart. Petty Officer First Class in the United States Navy, served in the Persian Gulf War in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Iraqi Storm. A native of Pittsburgh, we salute you, William Earhart, this morning's four-state hero.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. More information is released following a fire at the historic Olivia Apartments in Joplin. According to Joplin officials, firefighters were called to the scene around 9:30 Monday night. Crews were able to put out the fire around 1 a.m. with the last crew leaving at 3:15 yesterday morning. The building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Fire Chief Ferguson says the investigation will be a hard one, and that's because crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire. Crew members did have to disconnect the power, but there was no gas to the structure. Lower levels of the building suffered water damage. Joplin police arrest a man after he allegedly assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid and North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. The JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. A new report says the Arctic is warmer, less icy, and greener than it was just 15 years ago. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has issued its annual Arctic report card. The report card, released on Tuesday, documented near record high surface temperatures and found sea ice at near record lows. Snow still covers much of the Arctic for up to 9 months out of the year, but it's gradually becoming warmer and greener.
Summer temperatures, and that report coming in from Europe and Australia and places that really for about the span of 3 or 4 months had seen some of their warmest temperatures on record. And that's coming off of a heat wave that we had last year as well overseas. We're actually in the midst of our own little heat wave. We're going to challenge some records, not only on this December 9th, but also tomorrow for December 10th as well. Gorgeous sight outside of Television City. Live look from the mothership here. We had a little light cloud cover, no precipitation to worry about. We've got a big high pressure system hanging over the Midwest that just absolutely has us off to a wonderful start. 40 degrees. We do have a little wind chill in effect, but that's not too bad. And I love the fact that our humidity stays low because that limits our potential for growing fog. Now, Iola slipping down to 29 degrees right now. We got to bump that back up, and we'll be on our way because, look, we're running a trio of 41s from Carthage, Monette into Cassville. And as soon as we get about mid-morning, I'd say that thermometer is going to skyrocket. We're going to head straight up toward the 50s here by about the 10 o'clock hour. Now, here's why. See the big ridge of the jet stream kind of is over the Dakotas and upper Nebraska? Well, anything below that means temperatures are going to be about 15 to 20 degrees above where we'd anticipate for the middle of December. As a matter of fact, we're going to throw up some high 60s. We're going to have to get to 71 at Joplin Regional Airport to actually tie the record for December 9th. Now, look at this. How about back-to-back gorgeous days with sunshine? So take advantage of this because we've got big developments coming on Friday. It's going to start with morning rain, and on the backside of that, temperatures plummet straight down. A chilly weekend on top of it being wet on Friday. So that's why I want to emphasize today and tomorrow. Those are the days to take advantage of because not only warm, don't have to fight the wind either. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll about more or less COVID-19 restrictions for bars, as some bar owners in Wichita have joined a federal lawsuit trying to get their hours and their patrons back. Rick Norton says there should not be hour restrictions. This bleep doesn't get worse after 10 p.m. These businesses need to make a living just like the big businesses. Come on, people, stop living in fear. Rick says with all the cases, only 1.9% have died. Sam Schmidt says we're not 12, we're adults. Government's job is to protect our liberty, not our health. Says that's our job. And Christopher Hewitt says these pandemic flat earthers are nutso. As far as our morning Insta poll goes right now, 51% of you say more, and this has been curious. It's actually started out about 70% earlier in the morning. Now we're seeing the lesses really catch back up at 43%. Make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Now, over to my good friend Jesse Irwin.
Michael, you know what you can do this year? We're actually having letters to Santa shared with Santa. You can just go to KOAMnewsnow.com/notes to North Pole and you submit your kid's letter. So kids, if you want to write to Santa, you get the chance to do that, and you can submit that along with a photo or even a short video, and they might be featured right here on Fox 14 or even over on KOAM during our 6 o'clock show. It's going to be really fun. So December 17th through the 24th, we're going to make sure that Santa's reading those names. We're going to be Zooming with Santa, do a little teleconference action to the North Pole and just go right here. You see, you got the form, you fill it out, ask Santa any questions you might have about his line of work, put a photo in there, and you're ready to roll. So we invite you to do that. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com and we'll have more on that as we continue and get closer to the Christmas holiday. Well, as you're probably aware, our KOAM Toy Box campaign is underway as well, and we've been helping 4 state families for the past 32 years, and that includes one from Allen County, Kansas. Shannon Poor is a woman who actually remembers growing up with help from Toy Box when she was a little girl. Now she's a mother herself, and she says Toy Box is something she's really glad she knows about. Kate Kelly has more.
Shannon Poor's history with the KOAM Toy Box goes way back.
My parents done it when I was younger, and I've been doing it since I've had kids.
Shannon has 3 kids, 2 little boys, ages 6 and 10, and a little girl who will turn 5 in April. She admits Christmas can be a challenge.
Being a single mom with very little income, it is very hard. But I try to do my best to get my kids what they want.
That's where the KOAM Toy Box comes into play, partnering with distributors like the Iola First Baptist Church and Police Department. Shannon says the outpouring of love and support from the community is heartwarming.
When I got the call saying that they'd adopted my kids, I was excited that, our local police department done it, but it also brought tears to my eyes knowing that someone that we knew and the people that help us adopted my kids.
Shannon says she's grateful for the help she gets putting presents under the tree for her 3 little ones. So many families depend on your donations.
If it wasn't for them, then a lot of us wouldn't even have a Christmas for our kids.
Well, you'll have another chance to donate next week. We'll be inviting your phone calls again on Tuesday during our noon, 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. newscast. You'll make a financial donation, and we can use that money to buy toys for area kids in need. We'll have, also, if you prefer, you can go to our website at any point, by the way, and you can just click on the Toy Box banner. You can see right here on our website. It's really that simple. You got the Toy Box banner there. You can go on and donate and help contribute toward our campaign, and just click the Toy Box banner, and there's just so many ways you can do it. There's also drop-off locations as well. So we'll have more on that as we continue on and get closer to the Christmas holiday, and we'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Well, advertisers are changing their approach to reach holiday shoppers this year. Some ads provide humor about the pandemic, others offer escape from it, and as Anna Werner shows us, it's a delicate balance in a holiday season like no other.
Flip on the TV and you may see more ads like these. A girl and her grandmother separated by glass. Postal carriers, essential workers, diligently bringing the mail. A year like 2020 calls for a different kind of holiday advertising, says New York Times advertising writer Tiffany Shu.
How do we nod to the fact that everyone is still cooped up at home. People are still social distancing. The holidays are not going to look like they normally do, while also striking the balance of saying, you guys can still shop. You guys can still celebrate.
Let's deck the halls over video calls.
This Walmart ad acknowledges the current reality of social distancing and mask wearing. But not every company is emphasizing the pandemic. Take Lifetime, which is owned by A&E Networks, and KFC, for example.
Who the hell are you?
Mario Lopez is Colonel Sanders.
They're rolling out this 15-minute mini movie featuring KFC's star in a typical Lifetime made-for-TV style drama. David DeSocio is with A&E Networks.
I think the project is done with a wink. We know what the audience loves.
It's kind of a little bit of an escape.
Andrea Zamansky is with KFC.
It is about telling a bit of our brand story in a fun way.
Not all new approaches are proving to be popular. Hershey's is getting some negative feedback for changing its iconic Holiday Kisses ad. This year, it cuts to a family making cookies.
There's a lot riding on the success of these ads.
It's make or break for a lot of companies.
Shu says Hershey's later said it would run both the new ad and the conventional one, but it goes to show that advertising during a pandemic means striking a tricky balance. Anna Werner, CBS News, Berkeley, California.
Well, YouTube is now streaming the first 19 James Bond movies for at least the month of December. You'll have to watch some of the ads too, unless you're a YouTube Premium member. Dr. No, starring the late Sean Connery, to Pierce Brosnan's penultimate outing as the character in the 1999 installment The World Is Not Enough. All are currently available to stream on YouTube and its supported apps on devices. Well, alright, you gotta hear about this if you haven't already. If you want to watch Agent 007 without being bothered, Apple's new wireless noise-canceling headphones are perfect for you. The AirPods Max, though, they're going to cost you $550. Yeah, Apple says the headphones combine a custom acoustic design and software that includes active noise cancellation, though it has a function that allows you to simultaneously listen to music while hearing the environment around you. Isn't that just bad headphones? I don't know. The company is now taking orders for the new AirPod Maxes, which will be available December 15th. And again, those are $550. Man. All right, we are going to come back with some more KOA Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Weather Almanac for our December 9th. I'll explain that here in a second. It has a record of 71 degrees. That's back in 1993. Now, we're going to challenge it. I don't know if we're going to be able to break it, but we've got 2 delightfully warm days in store here for the middle of the week. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin sits at 40 degrees. We do have a wind chill in effect. This has been a little curious here. As we've worked through the morning, it was actually warmer when I got to work than what it is right now. We've lost a little bit since sunrise, but don't worry, we're going to quickly rebound and be able to make it up into the high 60s here later on, despite the fact that we've got a slew of 30s and just a couple 40s hanging off in southwest Missouri. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker, and that's because we find ourselves under the ridge of the jet stream, high pressure system dominating, and underneath that ridge, everywhere from Denver to DFW to Joplin, we're going to have above average temperatures for this time of December. We will have developments that will arrive on Friday. So what we'll do is a Thursday that's going to be up in the 70s, but now Friday morning the rain kicks in. It moves in from the south-southwest, should be able to keep the wintry mix off to our northwest, but at the same point in time, our temperatures are going to dramatically drop throughout Friday and into the weekend. So take advantage of the next 2 days before we return to December temps next week. Now it's time to turn it back over to Jesse.
This morning we are joined by David Burton with Missouri Extension. And David, I'm very happy to have you here because one of my favorite topics in the world is, well, it's Mr. Rogers, but being a good neighbor. And so very naturally, Missouri Extension has its new program. Can you share what it means to be a good neighbor and how Missouri Extension is helping people do that?
Yes, well, it can mean many different things. We actually have 5 steps in our program to move you from being a resident to an engaged neighbor. So there are different components to it. I love that you mentioned Mr. Rogers, though. That's a great tie-in. And it really begins, being a great neighbor begins by learning and using the names of your immediate neighbors. We say the 8 closest front doors to your door. Works whether you're in an apartment or subdivision or even out in a rural setting. The 8 closest front doors.
So I understand you weren't even aware of you called it a gold mine you were sitting on in terms of your neighbors. So can you sort of share your own experience with this and what your goals are now that you sort of had this epiphany?
Yeah, well, about 2 years ago, I would have told you that I was a great neighbor. I mowed my lawn, I didn't throw loud parties, and I picked up after my dog when we went on a walk. So I was a great neighbor. And then it dawned on me that people had moved in over time, and I hadn't even taken the effort to get to know them. I didn't even know their names. And how can you have a relationship with someone when you don't even know and use their name? I mean, that's like the basic starting point.
That's
and
level one, right.
Level one. And so, I had to go and reintroduce myself to neighbors and say, I'm going to do a better job at this. And, we have a little chart that we offer in our class, and, write these names down and remember them and use those names. It's a powerful tool.
So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so, I grew up with neighborhoods, but when I moved to the 4 states, I learned that the equivalent of neighborhoods a lot of times is towns. And that dynamic in relationship between neighborhoods or between towns is very similar in that regard. And so do you have any tips for ways that maybe towns can interact in a neighborly way and get to know each other and maybe form a stronger bond?
Wow, these are big questions that you're asking. And
answers. I got it.
We have an epidemic of loneliness in America. Pre-COVID, 70% of Americans said they felt they were lonely. So it's an epidemic. And then by contrast, we do have some research showing 15%, some studies as low as 3% of Americans say they know their neighbors. That means know their name, have talked to them this month, know a fact about their neighbors. How people become connected with their local environment, how they become connected with their community and more involved and more in love with their community, no matter the size of that community. And really, there's lots of support for the idea that begins right there with your immediate neighbors, whether you're in a subdivision or a neighborhood or an apartment complex or trailer park or whatever, those immediate neighbors, that's the starting point.
That's awesome. Well, David, we really, really appreciate you sharing this info. If people want to learn more, where should they go?
Well, you can go to our extension website, extension.missouri.edu, and just search for neighbor. And in fact, we have several classes on there. We have a free monthly program called Introduction to Neighboring 101. So if you just search for Neighboring 101, you can register and join us on those monthly meetings.
Awesome. Well, we will have the link to that on our website as well, just to help you guys out, KOAMnewsnow.com. And David, thank you again.
Thank you for the time.
All right, we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. A mass coronavirus immunization campaign is now underway in the UK, fueling hopes that one will soon begin in the U.S. A new report from the FDA says Pfizer's vaccine appears to be both safe and effective. The Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected an effort by Pennsylvania Republicans to undo the certification of their state's presidential election. Earlier in the day, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton asked the court to overturn the election results in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. All states President Trump lost after carrying them in 2016. President-elect Joe Biden has filled 2 more seats in his cabinet. Biden chose former Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack as his Secretary of Agriculture. President-elect will also nominate Ohio Congresswoman Marcia Fudge to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Cannot beat it for the middle of December, as our temperatures are going to be up into the high 60s today. We may even throw up a 70. Not consistently, but 71 is kind of the magical number. If we can reach that at Joplin Regional Airport, we'll tie a record that dates back to 1993. Overnight, well above freezing. But remember, while Wednesday and Thursday are absolutely beautiful, Friday is when things begin to change. Number one, the rain rolls through. Number two, we've got a cold front that's going to take us back to a taste of December. So enjoy the next 48 hours.
Dick Saunders had just retired and was looking for something to help keep him busy. And with everything closed, he wasn't sure what he could do. Then he decided to grab some bags and pick up trash. And several times a week, Madison residents can find him near a local mall cleaning up the street. He says he can usually fill 7 to 8 bags in 4 hours or so. Saunders has this idea for people who want to help without getting their hands dirty.
Right there. That's crazy. Like 7 to 8 bags a day?
Yep, and he uses a little grabber thing so you don't have to touch it.
I know, but I'm just thinking about the amount of trash that's actually out there.
Yeah, just think if everybody picked up a bag of trash a day.
That's exactly what I was thinking. All right, thank you for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.